Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Everyday English Bite. We spent the last few episodes talking about the invisible world of finance and the stock market. Today, we are shifting to something highly physical, something you probably touched 5 minutes ago: paper.
Paper? That is a huge shift from futures contracts.
It really is. We take it completely for granted, but the paper industry is a massive, complex global machine. Today, we are going to explore the history of paper, how a solid tree becomes a flat sheet, where all this wood comes from, and answer the big question: are we running out of trees to make it?
That is a question I've always wondered about. I have the article ready, but let's do our vocabulary first.
You got it. Let's prepare our minds with today's words. Here are 3 essential words you need to understand the paper industry. Number 1, pulp. Pulp is the soft, wet mass of crushed wood fibers that is used to make paper. Before paper becomes flat and dry, it basically looks like a thick, white soup. Could you share the examples?
Sure. Example 1. The factory turns raw wood chips into paper pulp using heat and chemicals. Example 2. Recycled paper is mixed with water to create a new batch of pulp.
Perfect. Number 2, harvest. You usually hear this word with farming, like harvesting corn or wheat, but in the forestry industry, it means systematically cutting down trees for human use. It implies a planned process, not just random destruction.
Got it. Here are the examples. Example 1. The timber company is only allowed to harvest a specific number of trees each year. Example 2. Autumn is the traditional season to harvest crops before the cold winter arrives.
And finally, number 3, sustainability. This is a huge word today. It means the ability to maintain a process at a certain level without destroying the environment or using up all the natural resources for future generations.
Very important concept. Example 1. The government is promoting sustainability by encouraging citizens to use solar power. Example 2. If a company wants to attract modern consumers, it must prove the sustainability of its products.
Great examples. All right, I think we are ready to travel from the ancient world to the modern factory.
Before paper existed, humans struggled to find ways to record information. Ancient Sumerians carved symbols into heavy clay tablets, while Egyptians wrote on papyrus, a thick material made from river plants. In Europe, people used parchment, which was made from dried animal skins and was incredibly expensive. True paper was invented in China around the year 105 AD by a court official named Kai Lun. He discovered that by mixing tree bark, hemp, and old rags with water, smashing them into a wet paste, and pressing the moisture out, he could create a smooth, lightweight writing surface. This revolutionary secret was heavily guarded by China for centuries before it eventually spread across the Islamic world and into Europe, completely changing human history by making books and education accessible. Today, the basic concept remains the same, but the scale is industrial. How does a hard, solid tree become a thin sheet of notebook paper? It starts with logs being brought to a mill, where machines strip off the bark and chop the wood into tiny pieces called wood chips. These chips are then placed into giant pressure cookers with water and chemicals. This boiling process separates the stiff glue inside the wood, called lignin, from the soft cellulose fibers. What's left behind is a wet, mushy mixture called pulp. The pulp is cleaned, bleached to make it white, and sprayed onto massive, fast-moving mesh screens. As the screen moves, the water drains away, and the fibers naturally lock together. Finally, this continuous sheet passes through dozens of heavy, heated metal rollers that press it flat and dry it completely, rolling it into giant spools of finished paper. To feed this massive global demand, a complex international supply chain has developed. First, where does the wood come from? The raw materials are primarily exported from countries with vast forests. The top exporters of raw wood and pulp include Canada, the United States, Russia, Sweden, and Finland. Recently, Brazil has also become a major player due to its fast-growing eucalyptus plantations. However, the countries that grow the trees are not always the ones making the paper. Where is the actual paper manufacturing industry located? Today, China is by far the undisputed king of paper production, manufacturing over a quarter of the world's paper and cardboard. The United States is the second largest producer, followed closely by Japan and Germany. These nations import the raw pulp, process it in massive high-tech mills, and export the finished paper products all over the globe. This brings us to a critical question. Are we running out of trees because we consume so much paper? The surprising answer is no, at least not in the way most people think. The modern paper industry in developed nations is highly regulated. The vast majority of paper does not come from destroying ancient wild jungles. Instead, it comes from managed forests or tree plantations. These operate exactly like giant agricultural farms. For every mature tree that is harvested to make paper, the industry plants 3 or 4 new seedlings to replace it. In places like North America and Europe, the volume of wood growing in forests is actually increasing every year. Furthermore, paper is one of the most recycled materials on the planet. A single wood fiber can be recycled and reused up to 7 times before it becomes too weak. While illegal deforestation in certain tropical regions for cheap land remains a serious global crisis, the mainstream paper industry itself is largely based on a renewable, sustainable cycle of planting, harvesting, and recycling.
Thank you so much for reading that. It's actually a relief to hear that the paper industry is planting more trees than they cut down.
I was surprised by that too. I always imagined they were just cutting down the wild rainforests to make our notebooks.
Right? It operates much more like a giant farm. Well, since we are talking about paper, let's wrap things up with 3 common English idioms that use the word paper. Number 1, look good on paper. If a plan or an idea looks good on paper, it means that when you read about it or look at the design, it seems perfect and flawless. However, the hidden meaning is that it will probably fail or have problems in real practical life. Examples, please.
Sure. Example 1. The new traffic system looked good on paper, but it caused massive traffic jams on the first day. Example 2. He has an amazing resume and looks good on paper, but his interview was terrible.
Excellent. Number 2, a paper trail. A trail is a path you leave behind. So a paper trail is a series of documents, emails, or financial records that provide physical evidence of what someone did. Detectives and auditors love finding a paper trail to prove someone's guilt.
Got it. Here are the examples. Example 1. The corrupt politician tried to hide the stolen money, but he left a huge paper trail behind. Example 2. Always communicate with your boss through email so you have a paper trail if there is a misunderstanding later.
Very practical advice. Finally, number 3, a paper tiger. This is a great visual idiom. It describes a person, a country, or an organization that looks incredibly dangerous and powerful on the outside, like a tiger, but is actually weak and harmless on the inside because they are just made of paper.
Got it. Here are the examples. Example 1. The new manager looked frightening, but we quickly realized he's just a paper tiger who never actually fires anyone. Example 2. The dictator's military looked terrifying in parades, but during the actual war, it proved to be a paper tiger.
Fantastic examples. And that is our bite for today, everyone. You now know how Kai Lun changed the world, how wood chips become pulp, and why modern forestry is actually highly sustainable.
Thank you for having me.
Be sure to review today's vocabulary, try not to be a paper tiger in your daily life, and we will see you in the next episode. Stay curious.